Brace yourselves. The winds have been howling fiercely this season, creating a whirlwind of challenges. On one hand, firefighters are battling tirelessly to control raging flames, a stark reminder of how unpredictable nature can be. On the other hand, winter is creeping in with its icy grip, bringing bone-chilling cold and the promise of more intense weather ahead. Now is the time to prepare. Secure your homes, stock up on essentials, and make sure you're ready to face whatever Mother Nature throws our way. Stay safe, stay warm, and let's face this season head on. I think the chances of a southern snowstorm or winter storm are significantly increasing. The potential is definitely there. The cold air is moving in, not just right now, but this system is going to move out. In fact, we're going to see a bit of a break across much of the country. However, we've essentially primed the pump for the Siberian Express to kick in, and that's going to push cold air all the way down to the Gulf Coast into Texas and even as far south as Brownsville and northern Mexico. It's going to get really cold. Now, we've got this baroclinic zone, a dividing line between the cold polar Arctic air to the north and the warm, humid air from the Gulf of Mexico to the south. The ingredients are in place for some type of storm to develop. The big question is, being this far south, could we actually see wintry weather all the way into the deep south? Some models are hinting at warm air being pushed north along the Atlantic coast, which could send the storm system toward the northeast. We're going to examine the potential for that today. To take a look at this, I know what the operational models are showing. I get it. But one of the things I like to do is check the ensemble guidance. This is essentially the average of 51 different potential outcomes that use various parameters and starting points. The idea is that these averages provide a more balanced picture, and they're starting to show the potential for heavy snow in North Carolina. Look at this. There's even a chance for snow all the way down to the Gulf Coast. Now, I'm not saying it's going to snow on the beaches of Corpus Christi or along the Texas Gulf Coast into Florida, but the fact that the ensembles are hinting at heavy snow in the Carolinas is pretty wild. I think a lot of this could be ice, and there's a good chance the snow band shifts slightly farther north. That said, I could be completely wrong because this is an exceptionally cold air mass. Both the European and GFS models are picking up on it. And we're now in the day 6 to day 7 time frame. We're no longer looking 2 weeks out. So I decided to start making YouTube videos about it. If you think you'll enjoy this content, please subscribe. It really helps the channel. For those of you who have already subscribed, thank you so much. Don't forget to give this video a like if you enjoy it. Here's the ensemble guidance showing more than an inch of snow with a greater than 50% chance of occurrence. I can't recall the last time I saw those kinds of probabilities for snow in the suburbs of Houston, extending all the way down to Brownsville. That's pretty wild. Farther north, the air is going to be much drier, which will lower snow chances. Still, there could be some snow around the Great Lakes. Let's fast forward through the next several days. We'll see a clipper system bringing reinforcing cold air through the Great Lakes Thursday into Friday. That system will bring light snow and snow showers. Meanwhile, snow chances across the southeast will grow as an area of low pressure develops and potentially redevelops off the Atlantic coast. If this happens, it could create a dynamic scenario with warm southerly flow overriding cold polar air at the surface reinforced by high pressure. This setup could lead to a mix of precipitation. Some models haven't fully picked up on these finer details yet. That will come with time. As the low pressure system deepens off the coast, the question becomes whether it will translate up the coast or head out to sea. There's still a lot to iron out, but the potential is definitely growing. Some light snow will occur across the Rockies. And here comes the first sign of cold air starting to move south as we head into Saturday and Sunday. This will bring a lot of snow to parts of Ontario, Quebec, northern Ohio, northern Indiana, western Pennsylvania, and western New York, with decent accumulations possible as the cold air builds in. Usually you look at storms and ask, where is this storm going to go? Yeah, but here I'm focused on a major Arctic high pressure system. We've got a 1,056 millibar high centered over Calgary as we head into Sunday. This cold air is incredibly heavy and dense, pushing its way toward the Gulf Coast. It's not going to hop over the mountains. It physically can't. Instead, it slides right down the eastern slopes of the Rockies, pushing deep into Texas with this kind of setup. Meanwhile, lake effect snow will continue in the east with some light snow wrapping up across the northeast. You can see how the storm track gets carved out, shifting significantly southward. A huge area of high pressure will dominate, preventing anything from moving northward. This means any storm system that forms will have to track along the Gulf Coast or farther south. This setup is incredible, not necessarily scary, but definitely wild. There's a significant potential for ice in this scenario. Right now, we're looking at day 7, moving into day 8 next Wednesday. It's still too early to predict exact precipitation types, whether it'll be ice, snow, sleet, or freezing rain. But the storm system is showing up consistently on multiple models, including the European and GFS. Let me show you something. The models are seeing such intense cold air that they're going crazy trying to process it. As we get closer in time, the outputs may become more sensible, but it's still a very impressive outlook for next week. We'll see how it all plays out. Looking more closely at the European model, it suggests the storm will track up the coast, potentially dumping heavy snow in parts of New York and the Northeast. When you see 3 major global models, including the Canadian, showing a similar setup, it adds confidence. The Canadian model shows a 1,057 millibar high over Wyoming next week, which is incredibly strong. This cold, dense air will push southward, and the moisture it interacts with could form a significant winter storm across Texas and the southern states. The Canadian model, however, handles the storm differently. It suppresses the system slightly more than the GFS, pushing it out to sea instead of up the coast. It's also slower, placing the storm around Monday and Tuesday, while the European model has it earlier. There are still some outliers, so we need to monitor how this evolves. As for temperatures, it's going to be very cold heading into Wednesday, especially across Indiana, Ohio, northern Kentucky, West Virginia, Illinois, and Wisconsin. Temperatures will drop below 0 in some areas. Highs tomorrow won't rise much either, staying in the teens across many regions. Meanwhile, the South will see 50s in Alabama and Georgia, but colder air is on the way. By the weekend, the cold air will surge southward, reaching the Great Lakes before building farther into the plains and Texas. By Monday morning, temperatures in Chicago and the Midwest will drop below 0, with much colder conditions across Minnesota and Wisconsin. Today's European model run shows temperatures potentially reaching 20 below in some areas, such as Columbus. While extreme, this isn't unprecedented. Back in 1977, the Ohio River froze, and we saw similar conditions. Further south, into Texas and Oklahoma, temperatures will drop into the teens, single digits, and possibly below 0 in some spots, particularly in the Panhandle. Even Brownsville could experience freezing temperatures, and areas along the Gulf Coast, like New Orleans, might dip below freezing as well. We still have a week to go, and we will continue to monitor the model trends over time. However, this setup definitely has the potential for a significant winter storm across much of the southern tier of the country, with the possibility of ice and heavy snow as we head into next week. To be fair, it's not just an active stretch we're entering, it's really more of a continuation. January 2025 has already felt like a long month, even though we're only a few weeks in. I suspect next week will feel like it drags on too, especially for all my snow lovers in the Deep South. All right, with that said, let's dive into the latest data. Take a look at the loop running next to me. This is the latest run of our European computer model from this afternoon. It highlights the potential for a major storm in the south, accompanied by a significant Arctic blast pushing southward. This could bring very active weather over the next week or so, which you can see clearly on the model. Here's the key takeaway. This isn't just one model predicting it. Often we see so-called fantasy winter storms pop up 300 hours out on the GFS or sometimes on the European model. However, this storm is appearing on both of our major global models and is now within a week's time frame. This event would occur around next Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. Considering today is Tuesday evening, you can connect the dots. It's not far off at all. Let's start by breaking down the setup. The main driver of this storm will be cold air. For snow or ice to develop, especially in the deep south, potentially as far south as the Gulf Coast, you need very cold air. The question is, will we have it? I'm confident that we will. Here's why. This is the latest GFS ensemble run, which averages multiple GFS runs to create a consensus. The blue areas on the map indicate regions of troughing or lower heights, signifying cooler air. That cooler air can often trigger stormy weather, be it severe storms in the spring or snow in the winter, like we're currently experiencing in January. By Thursday afternoon, January 16th, just 2 days from now, there isn't much blue on the map. You'll see some blue in the northeast, which could produce lake effect snow or even a small clipper system bringing snow to the interior northeast. Otherwise, the map is dominated by orange and red, indicating warmer air. So where's this big pocket of cold air I've been talking about? It's expected to arrive later this week. Here's the timeline. Friday, the cold air begins moving into the lower 48. Saturday through Monday, January 19th through 20th, a massive block of cold air pushes southward out of Canada, bringing very cold conditions, cold enough for snow, even in the deep south. We've been anticipating this Arctic blast for several days now, and the models have consistently supported this scenario. In fact, I mentioned earlier this month that January would be active, and it's playing out just as expected. The blue areas on the map stick around for a while, lasting through January 22nd and even into January 24th. After that, another drop of Arctic air is forecast to spill southward. It seems the pattern may moderate a bit by the end of the month, but between now and then, conditions are prime for winter weather and cold air. Let's first break down the cold air before moving on to the winter storm potential. This temperature anomaly map is based on the European operational run from this afternoon. Starting Friday afternoon, much of the country will experience above average temperatures with orange areas on the map indicating warmer conditions. Friday looks like a great day for yard work, outdoor activities, or anything else you'd like to do outside. A front swinging through will bring strong winds and a mix of snow and rain during the transition period. You'll notice all that blue on the map indicating cold air beginning to move southward into the lower 48. This cold air will linger, and it's going to get downright nasty out there. By Tuesday morning, January 21st, temperatures could drop 30 to 40 degrees below average for this time of year, affecting areas from Texas to Louisiana, the Florida Panhandle, and possibly even the Florida Peninsula. The cold air is not in question. In fact, let me show you the expected temperatures. Starting Sunday afternoon, high temperatures will struggle to reach the teens in states like Minnesota. By Monday afternoon, another surge of cold air will push southward. In states like Tennessee, Kentucky, and Oklahoma, temperatures will struggle to climb above freezing. That freezing line shown in blue will still keep the deep south warm for now. As we move into Tuesday, high temperatures will stay below freezing in cities like Memphis, Dallas, Nashville, Raleigh, and Charlotte. The cold air mass will firmly settle in by Tuesday afternoon. Now, take a look at the low temperatures. On Monday morning, the Tennessee Valley will see single-digit lows, and the Ohio Valley will also experience frigid conditions. By Tuesday morning, the cold air will extend further south with lows in the single digits across the mountains of North Carolina and teens in cities like Charlotte, Raleigh, Nashville, Little Rock, and Memphis. Even the Florida Panhandle could see lows in the 20s. So cold air is guaranteed by next Tuesday and Wednesday as this Arctic blast moves southward. The bigger question is whether a storm system will develop to take advantage of this cold air, potentially creating a major winter storm? I think the answer is yes. Before we dive into the potential Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday storm, let's focus on the system coming this weekend. On Saturday afternoon, the latest European model shows a significant cold front moving southward, indicated by blue height lines. This front will likely bring snow to the Ohio Valley and Northeast, with rain in the southeast. And guys, if you enjoyed this one, don't forget to like and leave a comment below. I'll see you all in the next video.